Hello everyone and welcome to my guide on the best budget gaming monitors for 2024. Whether you're a gamer, a professional, or just looking for a great deal, I've got you covered. Let's dive into the top picks for this year. So first up is the AOC Q27G3XMN/BK. Now the only difference with the BK model is that it primarily sells in Europe. 27-inch monitor with an IPS panel, 1440p resolution, it has 180Hz refresh rate and very good motion handling and response time for competitive gaming. Although it has 336 local dimming zones, which is amazing for contrast, it isn't very good in dark scenes. But nonetheless, if you want a beautiful IPS display with a wide color gamut, high refresh rate, and great contrast for consuming media and HDR gaming, this monitor is a great buy for the price. Usually it goes around for 350 euros in Europe and a bit less in the US. So next up we have the MSI G27 4QPX. This is a 27-inch 1440p IPS monitor with a 240Hz refresh rate. Its strength lies in its high refresh rate, wide color gamut for vibrant colors, so if you enjoy watching media, a decent contrast ratio rated at approximately 1500, good for motion handling. It may have some overshoot though, and the HDR experience is unfortunately very bad on this monitor, but in general this monitor is a great deal and can be found for around 250 euros to 400 euros. Even cheaper in the US, it can be found for around $300. Okay, next up we have LG's 27GP850 Ultra Gear. This is a 27-inch 1440p monitor with a 165Hz refresh rate. It's a solid choice for gamers with its strengths in motion clarity and response time. The weakness is that it's on the pricier side for budget conscious buyers. If you find this monitor in your area and it's above 280 or 300 euros, I would suggest against buying it because it's just not a good deal at the price. The contrast ratio on this monitor is quite poor at 800 to 1, so blacks will look gray, which is not ideal for content consumption. Black uniformity is also pretty bad. On the other hand, color accuracy is great. It has a wide color gamut at 99% sRGB and 95% DCI-P3. Response time is also quite good at 5.5 milliseconds total with almost no overshoot or ghost. This monitor is quite good for competitive gaming, but it's not very good for content consumption. Next up we have the LG 32N650B. For those who want a larger screen, the LG is a 32-inch monitor with a 1440p VA panel and a 165Hz refresh rate. It doesn't have local dimming, which is obvious since it's so cheap, it wouldn't be good anyway. The color accuracy is quite good. It has a very good color gamut at 98% sRGB. The motion handling and response time are okay for the price. It's not anything great and it's a bit below average. So I don't quite recommend this monitor for fast-paced gaming like Counter-Strike 2 or Valorant. It has a total response time of 11.8 milliseconds on the best overdrive mode, which is set to faster. It has some overshoot and ghosting as expected of VA panels. It also has quite a bit of VA smearing. If you find it for a good price like 200 to 250 euros, I'd say go for it if you want a bigger monitor with 1440p resolution, smooth frame rate and a good color gamut for vibrant colors. Contrast ratio is also very good too. If you're looking for an esports monitor for 1080p 27-inch to 240Hz refresh rate gaming and you want an IPS screen, I suggest the Asus TUF Gaming VG279QM. Now, as I said, this is a 27-inch monitor, 1080p 240Hz refresh rate, and it has what Asus calls fast IPS technology. Now, the motion handling and refresh rate on this monitor is very good. I've seen in a lot of reviews of this monitor where people say that the panel is really good for this price. Now, it has a white color gamut, also very high refresh rate, and the motion handling is amazing. It's great, so it's very suitable for high refresh rate gaming. Now, the only downgrade is that in the recent years, I've heard about stories where they changed actually the panel technology after the good reviews, and now it's a huge downgrade. So if it's possible, I would also like to know in the comments below if anyone has this monitor, how's the panel. I've bought another unit that is called Asus VG279QM1A, which is similar to this monitor, but it's a little bit different. So the only things that are different is the stand, and apparently everything else is the same. Now, I've had to return this monitor because it was terrible. There was some sort of high-pitched noise coming from the panel itself. The panel quality was very poor. The colors were inaccurate. It had some green tint on the panel. So I've returned this monitor and I suggest that you do not buy this model. It has a significant downgrade. Next up, we have the Dell S3422WG. This is a 34-inch ultrawide monitor. It has a VA panel and 144Hz refresh rate. Now, this monitor is actually 8-bit plus FRC to 10-bit, and the gradient handling is actually pretty good. It has very good gray and black uniformity. It has a 2725 to 1 contrast ratio, so blacks do appear pretty good on this monitor, especially in the dark room. I actually own this monitor myself, and I can say that the stand is also very good if you have very low desk space. It does not get in the way of your mouse or keyboard, so if you play a lot of games, you have low desk space, especially if you play like shooter games and you need a lot of mouse space, this monitor is really good for you. The color accuracy out of the box is very poor. I would suggest you using Arting's suggested settings on their website. The response time on this monitor is okay. It's not great. It has a total response time on 9.86 milliseconds on the best overdrive setting, which is super fast. Of course, it has VA smearing, and it's not as bad as most VA monitors. In general, this monitor is pretty good. If you can find it around for 400 euros or maybe 400 US dollars, I'd say that that is a great deal. I bought this monitor personally for 460 euros, and now, after some time, I do kind of regret it because the colors are very good, the contrast ratio is very good, but the VA smearing and the terrible response times is kind of what kills it for me. Also, it has FreeSync Premium Pro with LFC technology, which is low frame rate compensation, and it works pretty good, but it does have a lot of VSync flicker. Now, the monitor itself is flicker free. It has a slight curve, it's not too noticeable. The viewing angles are actually pretty good for a VA monitor, although it's not great, and it's not even comparable to an IPS monitor. So I'd say if you want something with a bit better motion handling and a bit more vibrant colors, I would go for the MSI Gigabyte M34WQ. It is a flat IPS monitor with 144 Hz refresh rate. Its strength is the sharp image quality and wide viewing angles. The weakness is that it may lack some gaming features found in other models. The only downside to this monitor is the low contrast ratio and poor gray and black uniformity. Its contrast ratio is 1000 to 1, which is pretty typical of IPS panels, and it's not great, and the blacks might look gray in a dark room. The color accuracy, on the other hand, out of the box is actually pretty good, and you can also use Arting settings to make it even better. It doesn't have as big of a sRGB color gamut as the Dell one, but it's still pretty good. Total response time is 8.5 milliseconds, and it doesn't have that much overshoot or ghosting, which is, in my opinion, a bit better for gaming, typical of IPS panels. Also, you don't get any of the VA smearing. If you're looking for a very cheap option, the Dell G2724D is a 27-inch monitor with 165 Hz refresh rate and a 1440p resolution. Its strength is the incredible value for money. The weakness is the basic stand and build quality. Its contrast ratio is 1420 to 1. It has local dimming on the edges, but it is terrible, and I would not suggest to turn it on. The gray uniformity is pretty good, but the black uniformity is not very great. Typical of IPS panels, it has some blooming. Color accuracy is pretty good out of the box. The white point is off and the color temperature as well. But with Arting settings, you can make it look pretty good. It has an 83% sRGB color gamut, which makes colors look a little bit washed out and not as vibrant. Response time is pretty good at 6.5 milliseconds in total, and I'd say this is a pretty good purchase if you just want a budget option. Lastly, the ViewSonic XG2431. If you can find it, it's a 240Hz Full HD IPS monitor. That means it is 1080p. Its strength is the wide color gamut and high refresh rate. The weakness is its availability, as it can be hard to find. It has a pretty average IPS panel contrast ratio at 900 to 1, which can make black colors look gray. The gray uniformity is okay, but the black uniformity is terrible on this monitor. You can get distracting in dark scenes and it has no local dimming. Color accuracy is pretty good. It's not too far off the color temperature, but the white point is not accurate. It has a great color gamut at 99.5 sRGB, so colors will look lively and vibrant. The response time on this monitor is very good, and motion is quite clear at this price point. It has a total response time of 7.5 milliseconds with a minimal ghosting and overshoot at the highest refresh rate. If you can find this monitor in your area for a reasonable price, something around 250 or under 300 euros, the monitor is a good purchase. And that wraps up my roundup of the best budget monitors for 2024. Remember to consider your specific needs when choosing a monitor, whether you want a VA or an IPS panel, whether you prefer more vibrant colors or do you want a better contrast. Think about the resolution you want and think about the refresh rate you prefer, think about the ghosting, the uniformity of the panels. One thing I suggest for you to take into consideration is the color gamut. For me personally, the color vibrancy is a very important aspect, and if you buy a monitor where you maybe if you're a fan of wallpapers and you put on a wallpaper and the colors look washed out compared to maybe some other screens that you have in your household, that is a bit of a disappointment. So be careful and pay attention to the color gamut of the monitors. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more tech tips and reviews, and I'll see you next time.